Welcome, everybody, to the Saturday NBA Hardwood show. I'll tell you what, RPS is just on an NBA heater these days. We've got, JSU shipping earlier in the week. Bobby had a huge night last week, and it's our members, too. So let's keep it going. Let's keep the good mojo rolling. I'm Meg, and I, of course, got Glock and Gary to help us find the winners today. So thank you, everybody who's in the chat so far. Hit that like button if you haven't already, of course. We are, of course, going to go game by game, but let me check in with my guys first. Gary, it was so good to meet you this past weekend at the RPS party. How are you doing? I know you're getting ready to transition over to baseball too, but how are you doing on this Saturday for the NBA slate?
So yeah, it was nice meeting you and a couple other people that I didn't get the chance to meet last year because they didn't come, but so definitely looking forward to baseball starting up in less than a week. Next Thursday's opening day. I already got my Braves hat on.
You're ready
to go.
You're ready.
I just hope the subs are ready for my Braves stacks every day. It's gonna happen.
I like it.
So, but
they get Patrick Corbin, right? Opening day, Gary.
I mean, come on. Like Ozzy Albies is 3,400. I mean, like, what are they doing?
150 anyway. Brave stacks. Here we come, baby.
I mean, like, sign me up. I won't be at that game, but I will be going to Nat Stadium on Saturday and Sunday next week to watch the Braves too. So,
you're taking in two games there. Okay.
Yeah, so it's a 4:00 Saturday game and a 1:00 Sunday game.
Oh,
so
perfect.
We're just going to stay for both and drive back home, make the 3-hour trek south after the game. So definitely looking forward to baseball. But guess what? We have more winners tonight in the NBA streets, and we're going to continue to crush.
That's what I like to hear. We're going to continue to crush. We got a good 5-game slate today, starting at 8:00 Eastern, which is a little later. Gives a little more time to grab the news. Of course, if you're a Run Pure subscriber, get in that Discord. There's obviously going to be a lot of if-thens that we're going to be talking through during this show, but get in that Discord, get the updates, of course, closer to lock, and these guys will help you find the winners and find what to do based on injury news. And of course, you've got access to Glock's playbook, which is amazing. I was just going over that. And of course, the guys' core plays, which are key to, finding the winners and why a lot of both coordinators and subs have been crushing it these days. Glock, you and I were like passing and then just two ships passing tonight. We missed each other. I didn't get to meet you this past weekend. But I love doing shows with you. It's great to see you. And how are you doing this NBA Saturday?
Doing good. Yeah, it sucks we didn't get to meet Meg, but like I said, always next year for sure. Once everyone gets together, hopefully we could cross paths. Got to see Gary again, which is always good. Got to see everyone, which is always good to get together. And
Absolutely.
Kurt's tweet was good, right? Like we always interact yearly on these shows, and we know each other. We talk in the DMs, but it's nothing better than that actual face-to-face interaction and getting to sweat out every game with each other and, talk about stuff in person. So it was a lot of fun. I think you could maybe hear it in my voice, but I'm still a little nasally from everything. I still have the remnants of that cold weekend in Kentucky. So still trying to get over a little runny nose and a lingering cough here and there, but all good and excited to break this 5-gamer down with you guys.
Yeah, it's so fun to be together. Everybody's just rooting on each other's lineups, which is so awesome.
Yeah, Nate. Glock got the cold. I got to. Yeah, I didn't test for COVID or anything. I don't think it was that serious, but yeah, I definitely got something. And the allergies are really bad here in Texas too. So I don't know if it's I don't know what it is. I could be sick. It could be allergies. It just keeps interchanging. It feels like on me. So yeah, hopefully I get over it soon.
All right. Well, you're still going to help us find the winners. I know that for sure. 117 people struggling to talk today are in with us already. Be sure to hit that like button. We're going to go game by game, break this thing down. We're going to start with the Nets at the Heat, and the Heat are favored. Again, Glock, you always do such a good job with the playbook about, who's out, who's got the Q tag, who we're looking at. But I know we got some kind of bigger games later that we're looking at that have some massive Q tags and implications. But who are we looking at in this game?
Yeah, so like you said, Meg, it's like how many pieces, the decision point's going to come, like how many pieces do you want to commit to just to start off this slate, right? Because you've got some massive Q tags later, which we'll talk about. De'Aaron Fox, James Harden, Joel Embiid to really point those two out. But those guys don't lock until 2 hours after lock. So you're going to have like, there's some good plays in this game. I wouldn't say it's like going to be a full stack spot for me. That would certainly be contrarian, but there are definitely good plays in good spots in this game. Starting with Bam Adebayo, I think he's my favorite play in this game. 7.5K on DK, that's pretty cheap. And Biggs versus Brooklyn is something that we've targeted, all season. Claxton, he's kind of known more as like a, high upside block guy, but he's given up a lot of big games to centers, against him. So I like Bam here. And then the rest, it's kind of like, for me, it's like one-off pieces, right? Like maybe they're not going to be prioritized for me, but if I land on them, like I land on Jimmy Butler, he finally showed some upside against the Knicks last game, so I don't mind him. I don't mind Tyler Hero either. He's cheap, but definitely been an up and down player this year. Mikal Bridges is another guy that has extreme upside, although he hasn't showed it recently. He's a fine last-in option. Nick Claxton, he's probably the lowest owned option in this game that I like. Obviously, the matchup against Bam is tough on paper, but I really like what I've been seeing minutes-wise from Claxton. They finally feel like they're like committed to playing him 30+. So I like him for tournaments for sure at that cheap 6.6K tag on DK. And then you have like cheap, chalky value guys in Max Strus and Kevin Love, like that are coming with like 25% plus ownership, which is crazy to me. But on a slate where we're kind of starved for value and where we could even be starving for more value if the news doesn't break right later in the later games, these guys will have to be in consideration for you, starting with Kevin Love and then Max Strus. I think I prefer Kevin Love just because he's a starter. But if you just look at his game log, he doesn't play over 25 minutes like at all. And, if you roster him, you're kind of just hoping like, he'll bang in a few threes, get a few rebounds here and there, and just is really productive in his short time, which he definitely could be. So, obviously I think one thing about this game is if you're fading Bam, I would consider to get Kevin Love in your lineup. Although he's chalky, I do think it's good leverage because if Bam's not hitting his absolute ceiling, then someone like a Kevin Love or Jimmy Butler is going to be taking rebounds away, hitting shots and producing from a fantasy perspective. So that's something I'll keep an eye on. But like I said, I don't think I want to get too crazy in this game. Just, maybe one or two pieces at the most, and then just leave my lineup flexible for later.
That makes a ton of sense. Gary, are you kind of in line with Glock? You did a great breakdown, but who are you looking at in this game?
Yeah, so it starts off with Bam Adebayo here. Just looking at my flow chart stuff that I look at here, DraftKings points last 7 days. Brooklyn has given up the most fantasy points to centers in the league. So Bam Adebayo, 7,500. That's a really nice price tag for me, and it's going to be really hard. Even with this later news stuff, it's going to be really hard for me to not get there. Click him in my lineup. 7,500 it's just too cheap. If he was 8K, I would probably have a little bit more of a decision to make. But I think he gets 40. I think he gets 45 pretty easy here. And at 7,500, I'll take that all day. Kevin Love, again, he'll get you 20 DraftKings points at 3,900. And like Clark said, we are a little starved for value as of now, and I think we could possibly be even more starved for value. I think we're going to have different opinions on who plays and whatever in the later games, but I do like Kevin Love here. He's going to start. He's going to play 25 minutes, and he's going to get me 20 DraftKings points for 3,900. I like that. I like that a lot. So
you'll take it and move on. I hear you.
Those two are definitely my favorites on the Miami side. But, man, Jimmy Butler, this is a really good spot for him too. I mean, he like the clock said, he showed his ceiling a little bit in the last game. I just don't know if I can go there with the news that we're waiting on later. And on the Brooklyn side, nothing really is sticking out to me. I can't play Nick Claxton against Bam. I trust the DVP, and the DVP says don't do it. So I'm just going to stick with that. Miami over the last 7 days, the second fewest fantasy points allowed to centers over the last 7 games. And we do have the handy dandy flowchart tool on the site. So I trust the flowchart, and I'm gonna go with it here tonight. So all these guys. I think Dinwiddie's probably my favorite. I think on the Brooklyn side, but I'm not thrilled. It's like an MME piece for me. I'm only doing one lineup tonight. I don't think I'm going to get to any Brooklyn on either side tonight. So it's just probably Bam for me in this game, and probably Love as well.
Okay. All right. I like it. Let's go move on to the second game.
One thing, Meg, before you move on.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I did say, like, you know, thinking of using Kevin Love as like a leverage. I do think you could play Bam and Kevin Love together. Totally on this type of slate. Even though I said, you know, if you don't play Bam, think about playing Kevin Love. I do think it's totally viable to play both of them together. And yeah, like Derek Ringering said, star for value. Are y'all assuming Fox plays? I mean, he could play, right? He was a doubtful tag. And now he's questionable. So there's a chance he plays. And right now, some projection sites are actually, they have him ruled out. But you're still seeing guys like Kevin Love, Max Strus pop with like 20% ownership. So I would say that's star for value, man. I think any slate you have to play like a Davion Mitchell, Kevin Love, Max Strus are some of your value guys that are popping with a lot of ownership. I consider that star for value. It's because, you know, those aren't just like crushers when their value plays. So I just wanted to explain some of that.
No, that's good, because that probably would be, you know, are some of the questions that people have. So you're answering them before they ask them. I like it. Let's go to the next game. We've got two powerhouses here with the Milwaukee Bucks at the Denver Nuggets. Denver is favored by 2.5. So here we got some big studs in this game. Are we targeting the studs? You know, or again, are we kind of waiting to see what opens up later in the slate? So what are you personally looking at here, Glock?
Yeah, I think, you know, this is kind of like the previous game for me, where you could kind of consider, you know, the studs on each side. Obviously, Jokic, you know, he's kind of slipped here and there, you may say, but obviously I still think he's the MVP in my opinion. You know, just because his team's kind of not, you know, doing too well behind him doesn't mean he should get penalized for it. I think he's been doing great. He looks to be one of the highest owned studs on this slate, which is a little bit concerning. But obviously, this is like, you know, two studs going at it, right? Two of the best players in the league. Nikola Jokic going at Giannis. I'm going to have my popcorn ready for this game. And I think, you know, for DFS purposes, that's how you could treat it. I don't think you can jam both of them into your lineup today. But I think, you know, getting up to a guy like Jokic or Giannis is definitely viable, especially if De'Aaron Fox is ruled in later. Because, you know, right now, obviously, Domantas Sabonis, which we'll talk about later, looks like a great play without Fox. But if he's in, you know, Fox will kind of take away from him, which will most likely then funnel ownership to a guy like Jokic or Giannis, right?
Right.
The problem with this is, like, this game locks at 8, an hour before that Utah-Sacramento game. So, you know, you're gonna have to decide whether or not you want to lock into a Jokic or a Giannis early on, or if you want to wait on Sabonis, and then let's say you don't get the news that Fox is in or out until after this game locks. Then let's say Fox is in, and then you're stuck with Sabonis. I mean, it's not the end of the world, even if Fox is in, but you would love Sabonis all by himself if you play him against a Jazz team. So I think for this game, it's pretty easy. Like, usually from the Denver side, I'm usually only considering Jokic. And then, you know, obviously if I'm fading Jokic and I land on, you know, Jamal Murray, I'm totally fine with it. Aaron Gordon, I'm fine with it. And then the same goes for the Milwaukee side with Giannis. Always want to play Giannis. More to an extent, Giannis in itself. Like, I'm okay with playing Jamal Murray if I don't have Jokic, but Giannis, if I can't get to him, then, you know, I don't really love enforcing a 7.8K Drew Holiday, 7.7K Chris Middleton. So, yeah, I think it'll be just the studs from both sides for me.
What about Lopez? Tyler in chat. Tyler from the bedside. Any thoughts?
Yeah, Lopez is playing good, man. He's been absolutely nuking. I'm not really like a matchups guy like that. I'm just gonna treat Jokic like in a vacuum and just understand that he's one of the best players in the league. And, you know, when he gets it going, he can get it going against anyone. So it won't stray me away from Jokic particularly, just because Lopez is a good defender. I'll just play him as is, basically.
Okay. Gary, how about you? Are you Jokic or Giannis? Who are you targeting tonight? Or are you not? Or are you interested in some of the other pieces like a Lopez?
Yeah, so, I mean, these two teams look the same as Clock. It's always just Giannis or Joker for me, for the most part. And tonight's no different. I think Joker is at his lowest price point on DraftKings. in over a month and a half, and probably the second lowest price tag he's seen on the year. So that's probably why he's popping a little bit more. He's got a huge projection for that price tag. And he's also a better fantasy point per minute producer at home too. So all things are go for Joker tonight, but I can't talk anybody off Giannis here. I do prefer Joker heads up here. I just think Milwaukee's got a lot more pieces, right? They got a lot more guys that can contribute than the Joker does. And I think Joker, I mean, Embiid is kind of, I mean, Embiid is now the betting favorite for MVP.
Right.
So I think that matters to Joker. I think he wants to get, what is it, his third in a row?
3-peat, yeah.
So I mean, could be a statement game here at home against the Bucks. I do like Joker quite a bit tonight, but it'll be Giannis and Joker on both sites. And I don't know I know for sure I'm playing one lineup and I'm not going to have Giannis on it tonight. So.
Okay. So it's Joker for you. Okay. Let's then
one guy I want to throw in there that's
Sure.
popping with some ownership. Like we said, start for value. Bruce Brown, 4.4K off the bench. I'm seeing him projected around 20% or higher, which is nuts. But I mean, you're going to have to consider guys like that tonight just because of what we have on our hands, right? You could throw Bruce Brown into that Kevin Love bucket, Max Struss, Davion Mitchell bucket. You're going to, based on the news with the Sacramento Kings, like you're going to have to mix and match these value pieces, and getting that right will be the key to tonight's slate. So I think you could throw him in your pool for sure as well, because, he'll be in line for 25 plus minutes, and, he's generally been pretty productive off the bench. He's historically been a high fantasy point per minute guy when he's out there. So don't mind him as a last in value piece. But like I said, if you know me, like I'm absolutely hate banking on guys coming off the bench and nuking. So I'm always going to lean the starter, especially if you ask questions in the Discord, like starter versus bench guy. I generally always lean starter, but in this case, I think he's a guy you definitely can consider.
Okay. 2 games through, be sure to hit that like button if you haven't already. We appreciate you joining us. Again, if you are not a Run Pure subscriber, use one of our codes, Meg15, Glock15, Gary15, gets you 15% off your first month, and you'll be able to get that news in the Discord closer to lock. You'll be able to get those core plays closer to lock. Tonight sounds like it's going to be one that's going to come down to the wire for the 8 p.m. Eastern lock. So let's head over to our third game, which does have big questionable tags. We got the 76ers at the Phoenix Suns. Suns are favored by 1.5, and we are waiting on news on Embiid and Harden, and that is obviously the big question marks we're dealing with here. So with that said, Glock, how are you kind of handling this game? Give us some if then statements too.
Yeah, so I think it was weird seeing Embiid deemed questionable, like kind of in the middle of our day. Obviously Harden has been, he was out last night, and if he were to miss again tonight, I think we could go right back to the same guys, right? Joel Embiid, is going to be in a smash spot against the Suns team that, has no really, I mean, they have Bismack Biyombo and Jock Landale, but those guys are foul prone, and Joel Embiid's one of the best in the league at drawing fouls. So good luck with that situation. We saw what AD did to the Suns team recently as well. So their front court's like in total shambles. So obviously if James Harden misses, Joel Embiid's going to look like a smash play. Last night literally looked like he was cruising to claim his MVP crown. Like they were smashing the Warriors, and man, they choked it away. Like I really think that moment right there could really turn the switch for Embiid, like winning MVP. I don't know what the odds are right now, but man, I think if he really won that game in convincing fashion, which it did look like they were going to win, it would have just solidified it there. If they slip here, which is why I think he plays, it could, and Jokic gets a big win against a Milwaukee Bucks team and Giannis, that narrative could flip very, very quickly. So I think Joel Embiid is more likely in than not. So I like him, obviously, if Harden's out. And then if Harden's out, you can go right back to guys like Tyrese Maxey, Tobias Harris, DeAnthony Melton, obviously, all great plays if Harden misses. And then, on the opposite side, I don't love too much. Obviously, I think I like the Philly side more just because of the injury situation. 10K Devin Booker is like something I am just never really a fan of, honestly, especially since CP3's in, and that'll take away some assist upside, but he'll have to be in play here. I think he gets a tough matchup being guarded by D'Anthony Melton. So I don't love Booker. Chris Paul is the guy that always pops because, he's just that mid-range tag and,
right.
He's just looked really dusty to me. So I don't love Chris Paul or anyone from the Phoenix side. Like I mentioned, if you can pick the Phoenix big that doesn't get into foul trouble, I kind of lean Jock because he won't start against Embiid and he kind of has a higher chance of not getting the non-Embiid minutes. Then I think they're a fine play as well for value savings. But yeah, like I don't love too much from the Phoenix side and definitely focus more so on the Philly side here, based on the Q tags, of course.
All right. That was a perfect breakdown. Gary, how are you handling this game as we wait for news?
Yeah. So, I feel like whenever Glock and I are on the same show together, like we kind of agree a lot, which is not good for TV, but I do like the Sixer side a lot here. I think Harden sits here and Embiid plays. I love Tobias Harris in the spot. I might like him better than Embiid point per dollar. 6,100 is a really nice tag. I'm seeing 18, 19% ownership on him on a 5-game slate. I like that quite a bit. I like him more than Maxey. Maxey 7,300. He's in play for sure. As is Melton. Melton's another guy that I never really play. I mean, he hits an optimal lineup once every couple months when he gets a good shooting night, but I don't think that's going to be tonight. So Harris is definitely my favorite on the 76ers, followed by Embiid when factoring in price, and then Maxey. That'll probably be it for me. I see Niang is kind of popping a little bit as far as point per dollar value. I just can't. I can't click that.
Right.
I can't click that name even
That's
at
a hard one to
3,100.
click. Yeah.
He's projected for 17 DraftKings points, which, I mean, man, he played a lot last night. And what did he get? Like 10? I can't do it.
8.25. He played 29 minutes, which is crazy.
Ooh. Yeah. So in your optimizer, y'all are going to see him at the top as far as value for their team. I just X'd him out. I just did it. So I would advise the same here. On the Phoenix side, I don't have the Chris Paul hate that Glock does. So that's one disagreement. 7,200. That's a really cheap price tag, and he just went for 45. Not my favorite, not a main team consideration for me, but I would definitely have him in the mix for MME. Mm-hmm. And I do agree with Glock. I do like Jock Landale here more than Biyombo. For one, he's cheaper, and for two, he like Glock also said, he's going to see more non-Embiid minutes. So I definitely like that here. And Booker 10K, just like Glock said. I can never play that tag. When he gets down to like 9K, I'll start playing him again. He just doesn't. I mean, he pops off for 60 like once a month, maybe twice a month. And in this matchup against the 76ers, I don't think it's going to be a matchup where he can do that here. Going down the list here, I mean, all these value guys for Phoenix is just I don't know if I can do it. I mean, Torrey Craig 4,500, Cameron Payne, like I can't play these guys. So it's just going to be Chris Paul and Jock Landale for me. Jock Landale is more of, I mean, depending on the value that we get at this time, I mean, he's definitely in consideration for main team for me, just based on price and value. And obviously it's going to depend on the status of De'Aaron Fox. So I definitely like Jock Landale quite a bit here. And on the Philly side, it's mainly Tobias Harris. Because I think I prefer Joker straight up over Embiid tonight.
Okay.
It's tough. I mean, it's really tough. Like, you can't go wrong with either, but I think I'm just going to lean on Joker over Embiid tonight. And I'm not going to play two of these studs in my lineup tonight with the lack of value that we have. So definitely love me some Tobias Harris, 6,100.
Okay, Tobias Harris, I like it. And again, keep an eye in Discord. These guys will keep you posted on the news. Chad agreed with Niang, you don't get fantasy points for cardio. That it makes sense. There's a lot of guys in fantasy that get a lot of cardio, don't come through on the fantasy points, but they're not going to help your lineup. So that's a great point there.
Well, one guy I forgot to mention that I do want to add in. I think Cam Payne is a little interesting. Okay. 3.8K on DraftKings. Like we've been saying, value on the slate is really, really shaky. Like you're going to like, let's say Fox misses, you're going to have Davion Mitchell start. Like there's no guarantee that he gets you 15 fantasy points, even if he plays 30 minutes. People that played DFS this year, and have played Davion Mitchell in the past are very familiar with that. So taking shots on an unknown guy off the bench like Cam Payne, who's shown upside in the past, like as 4 games ago against Orlando, he went off for 31 fantasy points in 21 minutes off the bench. So guys like that can win you slates where value isn't as surefire as it generally is. So just wanted to throw in some campaign. He's treated me well in the past. And yeah, he's a guy that's going to fight for your money when he's in there for sure. I mean, Monty Williams might not really like him for his defense, but when he gets in there, he's a chucker. So like last game, you see, he went 0 for 5 in 16 minutes and still put up 10.75 fantasy points. He knocks those shots down. 3 of them were threes. He's going to easily hit 20 plus fantasy points. So don't mind him here at that 3-8 tag.
Okay. I like it. So the next game we got is the game that you guys have already touched on with, Fox's Q tag. So that is the news that, you guys are debating and we're waiting on. But we've got the Utah Jazz at the Sacramento Kings. Kings are favored by 7.5. Spread on the bet side. This is his team. See if they can light the beam for him tonight. But who are you, give us some if-then statements. You've already kind of talked through the Davion Mitchell stuff, but anybody else that you're liking in this game, Glock?
Yeah. So obviously, if De'Aaron Fox is out, then you can consider a guy like Davion Mitchell. Generally in this spot, he has been the guy that started at point guard for the Kings. Like I said, right now he's projected as one of the highest owned players on the slate, 65%, 70% owned, probably around 75% in single entry. 3 max stuff is if I had to guess, if Fox was out. And then obviously he gets a boost. And then guys like Kevin Huerter, we saw last night, absolutely smash in Fox absence. 5.4K, very, very reasonable tag. I like him obviously a lot. Going to come with a lot of ownership if Fox is out as well. Harrison Barnes, 5K, projects for 50+% ownership. He's going to play as many minutes as he can handle. Malik Monk is in play. Keegan Murray's in play. Trey Lyles even as a value play. I mean, you won't go wrong with any Sacramento piece here, in my opinion, if Fox is out. And then the guy that, I obviously didn't mention, Domantas Sabonis, he's going to be the premier spend. Obviously, I think if Fox is out, Bigs versus Utah have been actually kind of been a little meh as of late, but, Kessler Edwards is still young. Domantas Sabonis, he's a vet. I think he's, triple-double upside. I think he can expose him a little bit here and there. So, yeah, love Sabonis, obviously, if Fox is out. And then if Fox is in, man, there goes one of your chalky value plays, and then it's all going to funnel until a guy like Kevin Love, I think, is just going to get steamed hard if Davion Mitchell is if Fox is in. So, I actually don't know because that game locks first. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. Like, seriously, let's say you don't lock into Kevin Love early and you just save all your money for later, and then Fox is ruled in. These lineups are going to look insane. Like you're going to probably get some like Simone Fontecchio in your lineup, some Chris Dunn, a bunch of cheap guys that you weren't expecting. Yeah, Trey Lyles. So yeah, it's going to be real interesting. So that's something you definitely have to prepare for whenever, you think about building out your lineups. I always like to recommend okay, build your lineup as how you would best feel if the news falls right your way. Right. And then have an alternative if that news doesn't fall right. So have a lineup. Okay. If Fox is out, then I want to play this lineup. If Fox is in, then literally by your hand, like a hand build or whatever, this is what I want to play if Fox is in. So always have a plan, because I feel like my best nights are definitely when I have like those 2v2, 3v3 pivots.
Right.
Always have a plan going into the slate is what I recommend. And on the Utah side, like Lauri Markkanen is obviously out, Jordan Clarkson. So, you're going to get a lot of guys popping like Talen Horton-Tucker, Chris Dunn. I think those 2 guys would be my favorite. Obviously, they're shorthanded in the guards. So I don't think I'll force in any bigs from Utah. Kind of curious to hear what Gary has to say about it. But yeah, I think Chris Dunn and Talen Horton-Tucker would be my favorites. from the Utah side. I do have blowout concern, but they did get waxed by Milwaukee last night. These guys should be good to go. So, yeah, I think that's kind of how I would rate it.
All right, Gary, what do you with marketing out, with waiting on the Fox News, Glock again, of course, broke it down wonderfully. What are you kind of considering, or who are you really considering at this point?
So I'm kind of thinking that Fox is going to play here tonight.
Okay.
He got the midday upgrade.
Right.
It's not a quad strain. It's a quad. They're calling it quad soreness. I mean, they gave him the upgrade. Maybe he got some treatment this morning. Maybe he's feeling a little bit better. So I'm going to probably play the slate thinking that Fox is going to end. But I will say, so looking at my lineup as of now, I'm probably going to have Bam and Love. That's probably going to happen. I'm probably going to have Joker. Probably. Okay. So I'm going to have 3 guys. And then I have 3 games. If news does not fall my way, I can still pivot and get a Davion Mitchell. I cannot play Harrison Barnes. I will tell you that.
I saw your face when you said the ownership on
especially on FanDuel. I'm seeing 53% ownership on Harrison Barnes on FanDuel. Like, I just don't know how you do that. I would much rather play Keegan Murray at a fraction of the ownership on both sites. Keegan Murray they're basically the same price on DraftKings. Harrison Barnes has a 29 projection, and I'm looking at his game log, and when is the last time he hit that? I don't understand it. Even with Fox out, I'm not going to be playing Harrison Barnes tonight. So it's going to be largely dependent on news here. But like I said, I think I still like Keegan Murray. Even if Fox plays 5,100, that's a pretty good price tag. Herter 5,400. These guys are still good, decent plays on this slate, even if Fox is in, because their price tags are 5.4 and below on those mid-range guys for the Kings. So the only thing that would mess this up for me is I would probably have to force Davion in if Fox was out, which is fine. I'll have plenty of roster spots, at least 5, to get me through the rest of the slate here. So that's where I stand. I'm probably not going to play Sabonis. I'm a DVP truther. Walker Kessler is #legit. They've had one of the best interior defenses since the break. I know Sabonis is a monster. I get it. I just like these other studs. I like Giannis more than him. I like Joker more than him. I like Embiid more than him. So I think, probably the public would if Fox gets ruled out, Glock, what do you think? Sabonis' ownership is going to skyrocket, right? If he gets ruled out before the slate starts.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. If it all depends on the timing, for sure. Right. But yeah, if Fox gets ruled out before the slate starts, I think, right now you're seeing Jokic come like 20-25%, Embiid 20 low teens %. I think a lot of that ownership would funnel to Sabonis, and then in result, you get a guy like Giannis, Jokic, and Embiid at lower ownership. I'd be surprised to see like Sabonis lower owned than those 3, if I were honest.
So now that you're saying that, like I'm kind of hoping that Fox sits, so that happens, so I don't have to so I can fade Sabonis still.
Yeah, I'm in for that. I like that a lot, actually.
Yeah, so I'm not going to be. All I'm saying is, if Fox is ruled out before the slate starts, I'm not going to be running to jam in Sabonis on the slate. I still like Joker. Yeah, he's going to be my guy tonight. So that's how I'm treating the Kings. I really don't have much. Monk is always in play too if Fox gets ruled out, but not much more interest there. And on the Jazz, on FanDuel specifically, just play Talen Horton-Tucker in your lineup. He's $6K. He's $1,000 too cheap over there in this situation. Just like last night, he was $5,500. I would just plug and play him there. And looking at everybody else, Talen Horton-Tucker, $6,900 on DraftKings. Man, that's still tough for me to pay, even with these guys out on that site. Fontecchio is another guy that I just struggle with. But, if we get Fox in, we're going to need some value. And Fontecchio will – I would definitely rather play Love than Fontecchio. I will say that. And I actually don't mind Kelly Olynyk here.
Someone mentioned that in chat. Yeah, Kelly O's
6,500 on DraftKings. I saw something the other day where the coach made a quote saying that how Kelly Olynyk told him that he loves playing these games when they're so shorthanded. Like, he absolutely loves playing all the minutes that he can. And it shows. I mean, he hasn't really broken the slate yet, but he can get you 35 pretty easy here.
Sure.
With more upside in this matchup here. So I definitely like Kelly O at 15% projected ownership. I definitely like him more than Walker Kessler here, I think, which is odd for me to say, even on DraftKings, where they're only 300 apart. I just like the power forward eligibility with Kelly O. I'm going to have my center locked up most likely with Sabonis and maybe even Jock Landale. So I'm not going to get to Walker Kessler tonight. And Chris Dunn, 5,600, man, that's a guy. It's so volatile.
He's popping a ton, Gary. I think he might be the most owned Utah Jazz tonight, if I had to guess.
I'm fading that guy 100%. I'm not playing him in my main lineup. I can't do it. He's just a yo-yo in regards to minutes and fantasy production. They still have a bunch of dudes. They still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They got 12 guys with a projection tonight. So this team is not making the playoffs. I'm not going to pay 5,600 for a chalk Chris Dunn on this slate. I think his projection is legit 7 or 8 too high. So I see a 31.8 projection. I'm just going to bump him down to 24, and boom, now he's not going to hit any of my lineups. So that's what I'm doing with him. As a Buki, I've seen some talk about him in the chat.
Yes, I did see that earlier.
I can't do it. The Kings don't really play a traditional big when Sabonis is off the court. As a Buki's minutes probably going to be very, very limited here today. I know his projection is popping a little bit on DraftKings. It's actually showing him as the best value outside of Chris Dunn on the Jazz, which is I can't do it. Just don't do it. Just X out all these scrubs that we don't know how many minutes they're ever going to play. It's the same situation as Dunn. We don't know how many minutes. His role is not safe. They got Johnny Juzang. They got minutes. So I can't do it. I like on FanDuel. So FanDuel, I like Taylor Horton Tucker quite a bit. He's going to be in my lineup for sure because he's underpriced. I like Kelly O. And that's probably it for me on the Utah side.
Okay. Well, I think you did a great job breaking down the if-then statements, based on the Fox News and where you can maybe get some ownership leverage. If Fox is ruled out and everybody goes Sabonis, you can maybe stay put with, some of those other studs. So great breakdown by both of you guys. And we're heading to our last game. So if you just joined us, please be sure to hit that like button, because then you're going to get these guys' plays of the day after this last game breakdown. We've got the New Orleans Pelicans at the Clippers. We saw the Clippers without Paul George, and Kawhi was a monster, the last game. So do you have any, interest going back there, or who are you targeting in this game, Glock?
Yeah, I think this game is similar to the first games we broke down, the Nets, the Heat, the Bucks and the Nuggets, where I think you can obviously consider the studs on each side as your spend up tonight. Obviously, Kawhi Leonard is without Paul George. Did crush last game in his absence, but he's 10.1K. That's a lot to ask for. I think I do prefer him over a guy like Booker at that similar tag, just because I think Kawhi, he can rack up rebounds, assists, blocks, steals. Devin Booker is definitely a better scorer per se, but when you're playing DFS, you want that peripheral upside, and Kawhi Leonard can definitely get you that. And at under 10%, it's pretty easy to get overweight on a guy like him in your MME set. Just crank him up from bump up a few projection points, and then, get 20% of him. And I think you're set there. Russ Westbrook is just a guy that I've never been, really on ever since he got traded to LA. Obviously he is, going to have, the chance to produce and be that good secondary piece for them until Paul George gets back, but I don't love it too much. We saw Eric Gordon start for Paul George, but he ended up only playing 22 minutes or something like that. So I don't think I'm going to go there. I did actually like Bones Highland, after seeing what he did last game and, just coming off the bench and being that real spark plug for them.
Yeah, he was impressive.
But that tag, 4.6K on DraftKings, and Let me see what he is on FanDuel. I think he's like 5K over there. That's just way too high for me to depend on someone coming off the bench. So I think he's interesting, like maybe in a showdown format, but I don't think I'm going to get there on my main team. Same thing with Nick Batum. I was on him last slate, at a kind of a cheaper tag. But 4.2K is a lot for Nick Batum coming off the bench. You're kind of hoping like he comes in, bangs in 3 threes, gets a few stocks here and there, some rebounds, then you're kind of set. So I don't love most of the Clippers apart from, maybe the stud in Kawhi Leonard. Zubac is a guy that I really like always. I don't really know why. Maybe it's because he's always priced in like the 5Ks. Yeah. They should need his size against the Pelicans, but like I said, they can always go with a guy like Mason Plumlee, who, which is also a risk. So I think I'll just stay away from the Clipper side apart from Kawhi. And then on the Pelican side, it's pretty easy for me. I think Trey Murphy said he expects to play already. So you don't have to worry about that. And then anytime Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum are in, I always am going to pick Brandon Ingram over CJ. Sure. You look at the ownership right now, they were actually pretty similar, I assume, just because you get an $800 discount going from Ingram to CJ. But yeah, it's totally Ingram here for me. I think he had his first career triple-double last slate.
Yeah, what a monster
I think
game
he was Big T's play of the day. So
yeah, he was. Maybe he smashed. Yeah,
maybe you could just keep running pure with Brandon Ingram. I mean, the dude is he'll play 30, like in the high 30s, maybe 40 minutes in a close game.
Right.
Back in LA where he was initially drafted. Obviously, it's the Clippers, not the Lakers, but he's familiar with the area. I should be feeling good. So yeah, Brandon Ingram over CJ for me. And then I think for tournaments, I think you consider a guy like Jonas Valanciunas. He's been a monster as of late. Looks like they're finally committed to playing him. One thing that is concerning though is that the Clippers, they always like to play small if they can.
Right.
And, if they do end up doing that, it's going to hurt Joval. Unless, Willie Green wants to just keep playing big and sticking it to them that way. But yeah, Brandon Ingram and Jonas Valanciunas for me on the Pelicans side, and then Kawhi on the Clippers side. Pretty easy game to break down, I think.
Okay. All right, Gary, what do you think about this game? Are you kind of in line with Glock on some of those studs if you go there, or is there anybody else you are targeting?
Yeah, I don't think I can click a single Clipper in my lineup tonight. I just don't. I don't see it in this game. Russell Westbrook 7,900 on FanDuel, 8,200. Like I can't do that. Kawhi 10K. Like I said, I prefer the other studs over him.
Right.
Zubac is a guy that I'm opposite of Glock. Is a guy that I never really click on because he's another one of those guys that his minutes are very volatile. I don't know. Maybe that's the wrong approach for me, but I'm not going to click him. Bones Highland, like Glock said, 4,600, and Glock, he is 5,800 on FanDuel. Like what are we doing
low ownership
there?
over there? Low ownership.
They raised that price quick.
Don't do it. Do not pay $5,800 for Bones Highland on FanDuel, please. But yeah, I can't click any of these guys. And pretty much the same on the Pelican side. I mean, it's Brandon Ingram or bust. Jonas Valanciunas though, 7,500. Man, he has really been smashing every slate. It seems like. But man, I'm gonna have Joker probably, and probably a Landale as a value piece. So probably not going to get there. This game's mostly a fade for me.
Okay. All right, well, guys, it's the time that everybody loves, the plays of the day. You can
one guy I forgot to mention, Meg.
Oh, sure.
On the Pel side, just another unowned value play that I somewhat like. Najee Marshall at 3.7K, small forward, power forward eligible. Doesn't look to be coming with much ownership at all. He was kind of a guy I was looking into, like, if Trey Murphy were to miss. But, even with all of their guys healthy for the most part, you'll get, 16 to 20 minutes of Najee Marshall. If you look at his last games, there's not a game that he's posted under like 10 fantasy points. So it's a nice little floor value play that, I think you can mix in with the upside for 25 or more, which is obviously the best case scenario. But yeah, I don't mind some Najee Marshall as a little value play that's unowned tonight either.
Okay. Well, now we got to get your guys' plays of the day. We can get to anybody else's questions, then we'll wrap it up. So Glock, I'm going to go to you first. Who is your Glocked and Loaded play of the day?
Oh man, this is tough. Like I didn't really know like who. I was looking through it before we got on, and I was like, man, I have no idea who I'm gonna put like give my play of the day. I think I may be taking Gary's or at least a part of it, but
I don't
I
think
see
you're going
some
to take mine.
lineups that I like where it's more of a concept than it is a play, and it's the MVP narrative combo of Jokic and Embiid together. I know we've stressed that, we've been kind of starved for value. Obviously, if you go that route, you're going to pray that De'Aaron Fox is out, because if he's in, one of your kind of good value plays is Davion Mitchell. He would be out of the equation. But yeah, I'm going to try to make an emphasis tonight to get both of those MVP candidates into my lineup, double center build.
Ooh, I like it.
I'm seeing it pop in my projections already, which is good. Obviously, when you trust in the numbers, obviously in your head, you're like, man, that's 2 spend ups. Like I can't get to it. But if you look in how your projections are and you're seeing lineups that have them both, and you kind of like all the pieces that are around in your lineup, then I think you could totally go to it. So I'm going to say the double MVP narrative, get them both in your lineups tonight. They're both going to smash.
Wow, you get 2 plays a day from Glock. I like it. And I like the theme. I love a good theme. All right, Gary, who is your groundhog play of the day?
So that's really good. I like that a lot, Glock. I might be reconsidering how I build tonight.
I thought you were going to go with Jokic or Embiid. I thought one of them.
No, I'm not going to go with the stud. I kind of talked him up when we were talking in that 76ers game. I just like him a ton here. I like him when Harden's out. I think Harden's going to miss again. And I think he's going to get us 40-plus DraftKings points at 6,100. I'm going to go with Tobias Harris as the groundhog play of the day.
Okay, I like it.
I like that.
Well, I don't really see any other major questions. Someone asked which 2 MVPs Giannis too. You were going Joker and Embiid were the 2.
No disrespect to Giannis. I love Giannis, obviously.
Exactly.
But yeah,
but you guys talked about how they had
tonight.
more pieces and kind of covered that earlier. So I like it. Okay, let me get some final thoughts and then we're going to head on out of here. Glock, any final thoughts for the people before we get on out of here for tonight's slate?
No, yeah, like I said before at the beginning of the show, I think you really need to be one of the first things that you think of tonight is how many pieces are you going to lock into early in that Brooklyn-Miami game? Because you do have big Q tags later on in the slate, which, will dictate how you could build. So, Kevin Love, huge decision point early on. Maybe he's just a value play that you lock into early, and then you're just like, okay, I don't really care how the rest plays out. If I'm going to do this, if Fox is out, if Harden's out, I'm going to do this. Just kind of think of the scenarios in your head, right? Before, while you're building out your lineup and always have a plan, like I said, because there's nothing worse than getting late news.
Yeah.
And then you don't know what to do, right? You always want to know, if I get this news, what am I going to do with it? This is my plan. This is my pivots. So yeah, hashtag have a plan and hashtag wait on the news.
I love it. Gary, final thoughts for the people.
Yes. I mean, Glock couldn't have said it better. You have to have a plan on these slates. But luckily tonight, the slate's not, we don't have extra games and the slate's not locking at 7.
Right.
So we do have a little bit more time. But he's got me really thinking about this double MVP build now. So I'm going to have to go back to the drawing board here and see if I like it better than what my path was. So
I think it's been a while since they've played together on the same slate, man. Like at the same time, like the
stars are aligning.
Last night, you saw that quote, right? I think Embiid told Draymond, like he took it personal that Draymond said Jokic was the hardest to defend. And so that's why Joel Embiid went out and tried really, really hard. So yeah, there's a lot of juice behind this for sure. So it should be fun to watch.
I like it.
Oh, I like a good narrative. I like a good theme. You heard what the guys said. Hashtag have a plan for tonight. Again, get in that Discord later, get the news up to lock and check out the core plays later. So that'll do it. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Good luck tonight. For Gary, for Glock, I'm Meg, and we will see you next time.